feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights. Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rule.
Welcome back to the Sports Experience Podcast, everybody. Dom and Chris here. And before we begin, as always, we're recording down here at Engle Studio in Tucson, Arizona for all your audio needs, as well as please like, subscribe, share, follow, and most importantly, listen to this podcast. Like, come on. Do the thing with the thing.
Do the thing.
And our names and the @ symbols and hashtags and whatnot. But we're back in the saddle, Chris, and we're back on the soccer pitch.
All right, we're talking John Barnes today.
John Barnes.
Legend in the 80s, early 90s, and goes through, when soccer's changing over there with some racial stuff. So definitely an interesting.
Tell me the empire the sun never set on experienced things like this?
They went through civil rights in the 30s over there.
Yeah.
Just kidding. They still haven't gone through it. All right.
They really haven't. Nope, not Europe. Anyway.
They just brush that to the side.
What are those? John Charles Brian Barnes, born November 7th, 1963. Mom Frances and Dad Ken was a military gentleman from Trinidad originally.
Yep. Very military family growing up and very sports centric family.
Very sports centric, even though he grew up on a military base. His dad was the president of the Amateur Swimming Association in Jamaica and formed the country's first bobsled team.
If you know what I mean.
The guy that hired Irv Blitzer to take him to Calgary.
You probably didn't know this. He was the money man behind that. They didn't show that in the doc that we all know and love. But
we're talking snow and penguins and ice.
Sanka, what you smoking? I'm smoking. I'm breathing. It's the greatest movie of all time.
Really is. So good. Anyway, his dad was joined the 1st Battalion of the Jamaican Regiment of the West India Regiment, and post-colonialism in Jamaica rose pretty high in the British military.
Well, he said that
Jamaican military too.
Yes, because Jamaica in that time and still is a pretty poor country. But he said like him growing up definitely was different than other people growing up on the military base, and his dad definitely had a high-ranking position like throughout his childhood. So it wasn't like something later on. Like he was like a pretty high-ranking when he was younger. So.
Oh, he was like an officer. Like he was like a head honcho.
Yep.
Almost. So like, you don't want, like, you're not just being shipped around all the time. He's doing like super important things.
And I don't know if you saw, he ended up playing for the Jamaican national team. He played soccer for him.
I did see that.
And John Barnes had a quote where he said he was just like, my dad wasn't very skilled, but they brought him in almost as the disciplinarian, where he was just like going to be the captain, and he was literally going to be like, this team needs to stop smoking weed if we're going to make this Olympics in Calgary. And that's literally what he said it because he was just like, my dad was not skilled, but he came in and was just like that hard-nosed, like...
You need a guy like that on every team.
Yep.
You need a guy like that everywhere. Just to
brought
be
that
like,
military, like...
Guys, we can smoke after we've won. After we've won. Not during, not before, but after. We got it.
Well, because he was such a prominent military figure, ends up moving to England, and that changes, John Barnes' life. So
yeah, he's like 12 and a half years old.
Yep.
76 when he moves to England. Grows up playing sports, obviously. He said he played rugby and also played for, Paddington for the Youth Boys Club?
Yeah.
So, for soccer. And that's kind of where his career trajectory takes him.
Well, he also said when he got to England, like, the teams in Jamaica, especially youth teams, it was just like everybody would just show up and you know who you were on your team.
There's no organization.
No, and when he went to England and he said for the first time, he was just like, oh, kids that were like 13 were wearing like uniforms. He was like, what the hell is going on out here? Like, this is crazy. And he actually started as a center back. He was a center back for like a couple of years.
Oh, wow, really?
And then when he was 15, 16, they ended up moving him to left wing, and that's when he just exploded into being one of the better, prospects. So it's interesting because he starts at Shrewsbury,
Yep.
old Shrewsbury town. But that's where he's playing when his dad moves there, and he's like 16, 17. And then his dad's military, because they have like a 3 or 4 year, like, I don't even know what they called it. It's like an
enlistment or
Yeah,
something. Like
so-
I don't know. I'm not a military, but I'm assuming something like that. It's
but
like their
so-
stint.
Yeah, a stint. So his time was up in England, and his family was going back to Jamaica. He literally thought he was going to go back to Jamaica with them.
Guys, you know what they got over there in England? Uniforms. You know what they have cleats. They have cleats.
Yeah, uniforms and everything.
Make the league minimum over there.
That's right.
You know how much
do.
ganj that buys here?
Oof. So, and this is what's interesting. At Shrewsbury, there was a taxi driver who used to see him play, and he ended up picking up one of the Watford scouts. And told him, he was just like, you should come watch this kid play. His name is Barnes, I swear to God. So they give him a trial off of
Watford.
taxi driver's recommendation.
Can I just say something, though? This is a little off-putting. Like, if you're the Watford scout, it's like, so you're watching these kids play soccer in your taxi.
Well, across the bark.
I mean,
It wasn't as
taxi
nefarious.
cab confessions.
I'm
I mean,
just
this is
saying.
like the Mike Schmidt thing. I'm obviously joking, but it does sound, on its surface, it sounds weird.
It does sound. I mean, he was definitely watching Youth Boys. That's all I'm saying. So
Take a seat.
So
We just have regular tea. It's England. It's not iced tea.
So a 17-year-old Barnes takes a trial with Watford. I forget if it was the scout or the sporting director said, because they normally give him a full game, like a 90 minutes. They try him out, maybe different positions. He goes, we played him one half, and then we told him, he was just like, oh, okay, you're not going to play the second half. And he kind of thought, he was just like, I was playing really good. Like, what was going on? And they were just like, no, we're going to sign you. That was it. We saw enough. We're done. And that's what they said.
Don't
They were
get
just
hurt.
like, we didn't need to see that second 45. Like, we saw it. We're good. So Watford signs him, and
I saw the fee was a set of kits. Which is
the quote.
we really needed a washing machine.
Well, the quote that I love, because this is what players signed for, was like, you signed and they gave you a uniform. And the sporting director was talking about how it changed so much, especially in his era, where he was just like, yeah, we bought them for a pair of kits and we sold them for 900,000 pounds. And you were thinking about it, you were just like, oh yeah, that was that huge explosion in the 90s of just money. The Premier League
yeah. Oh,
so to get into Watford, just real quick, they had Graham Taylor as their manager. He had taken this 4th division Watford team up to the 2nd division in 4 years. A young Johnny Barnes comes in and really is what this team needed, because they were like a hard-nosed team, and he was more of just like that flair player.
Finesse.
Yep. He scores 12 goals in the 2nd division to get Watford promoted. With Luton Town, who's back in the Premiership this year.
Oh, wow.
They're going to go back down. And then this next year might have been one of the best showings of a team that didn't win the league.
Yeah.
So, like, they were talking about this, especially, like, from this team who was in the 4th division 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They're up in the 1st division for the first time in, like, forever, and they get 2nd to Liverpool.
Which is crazy.
And Liverpool was on this domination string, so like they weren't going to get beat. But everyone was saying like they could have been like preseason going in. They were like, this Watford team could have gotten like relegated, and they played so unbelievably good. And Barnes played like out
Their
of
best
his
player.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the amount of skill that he was putting on there, and the thing that I saw, because obviously you get in interviews with him, and they asked him, they're just like, when did you first experience racism in soccer?
Sick, and I stepped on the pitch, maybe?
Well, he said his first professional game.
Oh, God.
So in the amateur ranks, he was just like, yeah, like fans wouldn't yell that out. That's crazy. And he said the first time he went on the pitch for Watford, he just goes, it was immediate. And you were like, Oh, yeah, that was the era of 80,
Hooliganism?
82. Yeah, it was just like, it was such a insane thing that it wasn't even like they would do chants as a crowd.
But see, that's the thing. It's not just one drunk idiot, like, because people like that exist. It's the whole or a majority of the crowd doing it where you're like, oh boy.
And
no.
We get into just the racism stuff. His own fans, when he would play for England, would be racist against him.
It's like, why?
So this one time he scored this goal against Brazil. Amazing goal. Probably one of the better ones of an English player. Definitely one of the better ones of that era. And they were taking a plane back from Brazil to England, and there were a bunch of English guys on the plane. And he heard the English guys, and they kept saying it. They were like, "Oh, we beat Brazil 1-0 because we're not counting Barnes's goal. He's black." That's literally what they were saying. Oh
my god!
And like, it was like, aren't you guys supposed to be fans of mine? Like, it was and he said the amount of racism was so nonchalant. Like, they were like, almost like, yeah, what do you mean?
It's like American Southern racism.
Oh my god!
It's because it's all out in the open. It's not like it's not hidden. It's not veiled. It's like
this is how I feel. Yeah,
student athletes.
So and he said, at the time, and like subconsciously, this might be a thing because he really did not play great for England.
Not on the national team,
They didn't play him in the right position, but he also said he was just like, I would go out to my own fans being racist. The fans of my own team being racist to me. It's like, yeah, that's hard to put that on because...
He might not have played well for England, but he rapped well for England.
Oh my God, it was... If you want to check out one of the greatest music careers, I mean, fantastic soccer player, that's fine. But when we get into his music career...
I mean, cocaine...
Well, it's that cocaine-fueled 80s where everything got the green light.
Like Quantum Leap.
That's right. Don't steal our leap. I swear. 84 FA Cup runner-up with Watford. 86, 87 FA Cup runner-up with Watford. So, like, they definitely, like, Watford became this, like, kind of good team.
They made it to the first division.
And they're in the first division.
Before. That's amazing.
For them. Graham Taylor finally leaves. Mm-hmm. And then once Graham Taylor leaves, that's when, like, the board is like, yeah, we can't turn down the money that's coming in for John Barnes. Because, like, Manchester United was coming in and Liverpool was coming in. And actually, Manchester United had a deal in place, and Sir Alex Ferguson denied it because he was going to stick with his, like, current left wing. And he said this himself. He was like, that was one of the biggest transfers that I messed up on.
That is not Fergalicious.
No.
At all.
Not at all.
Nope.
So he goes to Liverpool for £900,000.
That's a lot of money.
Played for Watford 233 games, 65 goals. Mm-hmm. Obviously put them into the first division, Yeah. Liverpool, first season with them, they win the title. This is in Liverpool's dominance. So it's definitely like... Everybody saw this clicking. Manchester United hasn't come onto the scene yet. 88-89 was the Hillsborough disaster. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, yeah. Well, didn't they lose one of these games to our boy Vinnie Jones in Wimbledon?
Oh, yeah,
That's
sure.
Right. Yeah. But, Hillsborough, though.
Hillsborough, 96 people dead. We might do a thing on disasters.
Sports disaster. The Fan Man. No, Hillsborough's a tragedy. That was just more less comical.
It brought in a new wave of stadium reform because it was in this old rickety stadium where Liverpool fans were jumping up and down, and it collapsed, killed 96 people. So he ended up taking a break from English duty to do travel to fans and like shit like that.
Which, when some of the fans treated him the way that he did.
Well, these are Liverpool fans, not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
So the national ones, they're fans of like Man U, and they're like, no, we don't like that guy. And you're just like, get your head out of here.
Sing the Manchester United song.
Yep. That was a great Euro trip. Won the FA Cup against Everton in one of the best Merseyside Derby finals. They won 3-2. Mm-hmm. he has this incident that happens against an Everton game.
Oh, I read about this one. Oh,
where
boy.
somebody threw a banana on and he backheels it. And he said it, he just goes, I've seen the video. It looks planned. It looks like somebody threw it on and I was like waiting for it. But he was just like, no, I was just in that mode where I saw something and I was just like ready to hit it. And this was the catalyst to start this new program at that time that they called put an end to racism in football.
Yeah.
And it's still going on.
Well,
It's like they're just like, it's not, but this is what he said was because forever, and you can go back to old games with him, they would be an entire stadium almost chanting racist stuff against him. And he was saying that it was just like we were just out in the open. And this was one of the first times because it was on the nationalized televised. You couldn't hear what they said, but you could see it. And it brought in this new era.
Pretty clear what that means.
Yes.
Dicks.
Yes.
God.
So it brought in this new era of, oh, we should probably stop being racist. In 1990.
That's what I mean. In 1990. It's not 1790.
It's crazy. 1990 was his best season, 22 goals. Liverpool wins their last title in like 20 years.
He was the Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year award.
Well, this is what, if you hear, because this is definitely when the European countries are a little bit more isolated.
Yep.
And a lot of the English guys are like, for me, 88 to 91, John Barnes was the best player in England.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what they were saying. Like in this era, he was just that much better than everybody else. And this definitely was his.
This was him in his prime.
Yes.
We're
Kenny Dalglish took over as manager.
Exactly.
Like all of this
Scots
is
invade Wembley.
Yep. All of this is like literally like it all works for him because it works under his style, which was his complaint with England. They don't play in the right style.
And he's like 24, 25 years old.
Yep.
It's like everything is coming together. He's in his prime, and then we have a couple of more seasons.
Well, it starts to dip off
Yeah.
because Liverpool gets a new coach. They stop winning. You know what I mean? They stop winning every single title, so that's a problem. Nobody really likes the new coach. He's this Scottish guy named Saunis.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce it. No.
He's a really interesting guy. We might do an episode on him if we figure out how to say his name. But he was just super hard nosed, super, you know what I mean? Like almost trained them too hard, they felt like. And you can kind of see it because he comes into 91, 92 and only plays 12 games because he just keeps getting injured. And they were saying this, they were just like, they were getting injured in training too much. The training was like too much. And like that was everybody's complaint. And then
he doesn't even play in their 92 FA Cup winning final.
Exactly.
So.
Because he's injured. Going into the 92 summer, which is supposed to be the Euros, he gets the worst injury of his life where he ruptures his Achilles. And
it's where you need the Aaron Rodgers voodoo, but it's not out there yet.
If you look at his legs,
oh God,
it's literally looks like two different legs from two different people. One is completely muscular and the other one looks almost atrophied. And he said, he just goes, as soon as I stepped back out there, I realized I had to become a different player because I didn't have that. It's not speed. It's almost like explosivity where it's like a 5-yard burst. And he just goes, I just didn't have it.
And cutting too.
And yes. Like literally it more like basketball than I think people think. Or, you know,
100%.
But then this is the thing. So he's left wing forever. He starts to go drift to the middle and keeps his place as a starter. And he becomes a center defensive mid for Liverpool. And this is when the Premier League comes in and a bunch of other teams are winning titles. Not Liverpool. Arsenal's winning, Man U, Blackpool wins one for some reason. It's quite Blackburn, sorry. It's quite a ridiculous run from what Liverpool was coming off of. He becomes captain. Has a ridiculous goal against Newcastle if you ever want to check that. If you ever want to check that one. But literally his Liverpool career it's summed up, I feel like, with the beginning being like this is another.
This is one of the greatest players in the world, not just in England, in the world,
and another like dominance. Like they didn't see them kind of dropping off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially with him, and then Liverpool just kind of dropped off and just didn't produce like they did, for so many years. Mm-hmm. He had 407 appearances for Liverpool, 108 goals, 5 major trophies, 2 league, and then moves to Newcastle for free, which
essentially
some people thought was a little weird, but when you saw it, because Dalglish now is coaching at Newcastle, and Dalglish brings him in, and he puts him on as the backup striker.
Shearer, right?
So Alan Shearer gets injured. Yeah, so he's just like, well, you can play striker. And how bad Newcastle was, they lost, or he scored 6 goals. He was their top scorer. So they were battling for the title the year before. This year that he came in, I think they were like 13th or 14th. So they end up firing Dalglish, which probably wasn't appropriate because Shearer was out the whole year. But they fired Dalglish. They bring in Ruud Gullit, who does not like John Barnes.
No, he does not.
He said it in his autobiography. He was just like, I can't even tell you how just like the cold shoulder. He's just like, no, we don't want you. So he immediately puts him on the reserves. And people were even saying, they were just like, dude, he looks so good in the reserves. He was just like, I don't care. So
wonder why I didn't like him.
So he knew he was out at Newcastle. He goes to a free transfer to Charlton and pretty much is done at that point. Just kind of subs in a little and then tries to become a manager.
Yeah, right.
Which he takes over the Celtic position. This is the thing that always is crazy. I think it was December, he won Manager of the Month. So he was like literally like on top of the world. And then in January, they lost their I think they lost in the first round of the Scottish Cup against a second division team, which is like, I think it's like the only time that Celtic has ever done that. And they literally, so he was literally Manager of the Month in December. They fired him in January.
Oh, jeez.
And his complaint, this is his only complaint, is he said, I got one opportunity.
Yep.
And he felt like it was because he was black that he did not get another team coming in. He coached Jamaica for a little bit, but that wasn't even...
To be fair, if he said this now, I don't know if I would buy it. But what we've gone
back
over
then,
earlier,
yes.
100%
Yes.
that could have been the case.
And this
100%.
Especially with this English, this is like when all of these guys are dying out. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yes. So he definitely, I don't feel like got a fair shake at coaching. But he was literally the player that like he was the Jackie Robinson but a lot of black players do say that they owe a lot to him because he went to Liverpool, the biggest club in England at the time, and he performed, which a lot of people didn't think he was going to do. He said he got a lot of letters from Liverpool fans before he went being like, don't come here.
Oh, no.
And he said...
What's the English equivalent of the word boy?
Oh, my God.
Like, I'm assuming there were a lot of letters that said things of that horrible nature.
Yes, and he said it was horrible, but then when he went to Liverpool and succeeded, that kind of their fans turned around. But that was the other thing. Is just like, I shouldn't have to prove myself. Like, you fucking whatever.
You limey bastard.
Yes, John Barnes, absolutely fantastic soccer player. I did love this thing that one of his managers said. He goes, dude, one of the greatest soccer players ever, better person. And I was like, I love that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We sometimes we don't get guys like this on this podcast.
I know. Seriously.
Sometimes we get trash humans, but not John Barnes.
Yep.
Thank you.